All right, I've got 6 o'clock on the dot. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ted Davis. I have the pleasure or honor of being the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce's Governmental Affairs Committee. We sponsor these forums. This is the first of 5 we'll have this season. Next Tuesday, we'll have the Leavenworth City Commission. Next Wednesday, we'll have the Leavenworth School District, USD 453. And then the following Wednesday, so 2 weeks from tonight, we'll have USD 469. And then finally, a new one this year, we're going to have a water board candidate forum. A lot of important issues on that one. So when we were told how important it is, we felt we ought to have it. So welcome. Thank you for coming this evening. I'm going to welcome our candidates. Let me introduce them. Not here yet is Kevin Gardner running for Ward 1. He should join us shortly. He's been traveling today, so he may join us in about 30 minutes. Caleb Gordon is running also for Ward 1. Donald Studnicka. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're running for Ward 2. Next to him is Rebecca Mahan. Did I pronounce it? Okay. Also Ward 2. And then Chris Pearson is running for Ward 4. Carrie Brunkart, who's running for the 3rd Ward seat, could not be here this evening because of an urgent matter that arose yesterday. Let me review. First of all, let me thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank my key members of my committee, 2 ladies who I could not do this without. Kelly Butler and Jeanette Laby, thank you so much. Our timekeeper this evening. My timekeeper this evening is Denny Davis, my wife, and Eric Price from Rogue Marketing. Thank you. He has been faithfully our videographer. If you ever have video production requirements, I really highly recommend that you employ his services. Okay, the flow of this evening. We're going to start with a 5-minute introduction by each of the candidates. I will then ask 4 questions. So each of our 4 questions, the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. We will open it to your questions then, and I'll just let you ask from the floor. When it comes time for you to ask questions, I do ask 2 things. Please keep your introduction to the question short. Focus on the question. We want to get the question out so they can answer that. If you take too long, I will be rude and interrupt and ask you to get to the question. So please do that. Secondly, make the question appropriate to everybody. We ask that you just single out one person, but what is a question that all the candidates have to do? They will have 2 minutes to answer your questions, and then we'll have a 1-minute closing by each of the candidates. So that's the flow. Candidates, any questions of me on the flow? All right, then. Let's get started with your introductions. Caleb, would you start? And we'll go from right to left.
Certainly. My name is Caleb Gordon. Do I need the microphone?
Yeah.
Please, yeah.
Check. All right. My name is Caleb Gordon. My wife, my 6 children, and I have lived in Lansing for 7 years now. For a few more weeks, I am your county treasurer. Over the course of the last couple of years, I've changed the course of the county treasurer's office after being over budget nearly every year for 10 years and starting with a reduced budget. The office is on track to be around $24,000 below budget for the first time in a decade. I also personally audited every line item of expenses from 2016 to present, weighing every expense against state law and applicable Attorney General opinions and Kansas Supreme Court opinions. I've not yet made that information public, but I will. I'm fiscally conservative, pro-life, and I serve with honesty and integrity. Thank you.
Please, sir.
Good evening. My name is Chris Pierce, as he stated, and I'm running for Lansing City Council Ward 4. The question, why me? Well, I'm just like a lot of you in the audience. I was tired of being lied to by certain politicians. I got fed up, and it would be very easy for me to continue to go to work, come home, and do it all over again. But it got to the point where I was like, no, that's enough. And I decided, well, when someone asked me to run, I decided, yes, I would. You know, my background, I did 22 years Navy, hostile non-compliant boardings. You know, I work out on the fort now, and, you know, I look forward to being the voice for Ward 4. As I'm out knocking doors, people have some of the same concerns that I have. They don't trust politicians. They feel like their voice is no longer heard, and we need to change that. And I want to be a part of that change. I want to be a part of the positive changes that will occur in Lansing. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Mahan. Sorry, allergies, so apologies. Bear with me, everyone. My family has called Lansing home for over 30 years. Currently, I work as a system analyst for a global commerce platform. I focus on solving problems and finding innovative solutions. Right now, there are no women serving on the city council. There's nobody else from my generation serving on the council. And I would like the opportunity to represent the younger generation and move forward for the future of Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Donald Studnicka. I'm currently sitting member of Ward 2, city councilman. Moved into the area back in 1988 when the Army sent me here from Germany. Retired here and we decided to stay. I was first elected to the council in 1997, and I've seen a lot of changes in the city, and I've helped facilitate a lot of those positive changes that we made, our growth, our housing, some of our businesses, and all those great things we have going on. As far as my bio, I'm married. I have 2 kids. They're growing and have grandkids now. And if you want any more detail on my bio, it's up on the city website. You just look up under City Council Ward 2, and there's a kind of a laundry list of things there. And so I'm asking for your vote for re-election to Ward 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you've got the microphone. Please hold on to it and be the first to answer the first question. So we're going to move into the chambers. 4 questions. You'll have 2 minutes to answer per candidate. Question number 1. The Lansing Housing Study 2023 called for 500 new housing units by 2030, and housing is the first priority in the council's strategic plan. How will you work to fulfill this priority and address the housing shortages in Lansing? Don, please start.
Okay, thank you. I think the city council is already working in that direction. We've already tried to work with some of the new things that come out of the state. It's the RHID, which everybody's been talking about here lately. For the city, that's just a tool for us to try to enhance or encourage a developer to develop housing within Lansing. We've already had 2 of them voted down because, as you know, the RHID, all the stakeholders, meaning all the taxing entities, must buy into it, and the county has voted us down twice now. We have a 3rd one in place, Monroe Place, over there on 197th and Eisenhower, and I think that one will probably fly. I hope, because the way that developer is looking at the RHID, he's looking at more of the percentage of the property tax of those buildings coming to the taxing entities, and he wishes to try to get that paid off in about 8 years. There's a public hearing on that tomorrow night at the city council meeting, so you can come and listen to all that. We're also working with the people that own the Ryan Farm, the old Ryan Farm out here on 4H, developer out of Texas, and hopefully we can get some housing started there and some infrastructure going there, and hopefully not you have to use the RHID. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca.
Okay. The 2023 housing study provided useful insights, but with only 157 responses, it doesn't reflect the full voice of Lansing residents. A key concern raised was the impact of rising property taxes, along with the need for more high-end housing to balance the market. I believe in encouraging responsible growth by supporting a mix of developments that meets community needs while protecting taxpayers. That means actively listening to residents beyond the survey, working with developers on cost sharing for infrastructure, and ensuring new housing strengthens our tax base rather than increasing the burden on current families. Growth should always be balanced with community input to preserve Lansing's small town character while addressing real housing needs. I believe a revised housing study should be conducted at least every 2 years to ensure our strategy reflects the city's changing needs.
Thank you, Rebecca. Chris.
Thank you. So, I have not read the 2023 study in full, but I did read the 2022 LCDC study. 67.9% of the residents in Leavenworth County commute outside of Leavenworth County to Johnson County, South Johnson County, and Kansas City for work. So the problem is if you build more houses here, you're just going to have more people that transit outside the county to go to work. We need to address the issue of bringing businesses here, and I know you can't bring businesses here without houses. The RHID, another issue that I have with that is that I used to train first responders for 10 years when I was in Nevada. When you take 80% of the tax, the property taxes, and you give them to the developer, you have 20% that's only going to schools, first responders, and so on. So I want a win-win, and Chris Pierce is not going to be the deciding factor. I have to work with everyone else on the council to make sure we come up with the right answers. And right now, because it's been shot down twice, I think people will start to take a different look at what we need to do to build responsible growth in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Caleb.
My first thought is, what is the government's interest in something that is generally a free market issue? I can see having infrastructure in place and a plan for if the city grows organically. However, I'm unsure how the city trying to force growth is beneficial. I struggle already to make a left turn onto 4th Street. Sometimes it's nearly impossible, and we're talking about adding 500 houses in 5 years. I don't think I'm alone in saying that the tax increases have to stop. And I think honesty and sanity has to be brought into the conversation. What if instead of focusing on the 500 families that might move to Lansing, we focused on the families that actually live here now and how we can reduce their tax burden so they can better provide for their families?
Yeah, thank you very much. Would you give it the mic to Chris and let him start the next round?
Absolutely.
The next round, next question. How will you support or oppose the building of a new Kansas City, Kansas community college facility in Lansing?
So, thank you. So KCKCC, not only does it bring new talents for people that are going to be educated there, it also will bring businesses. The problem that I have is once I started, once someone asked me to run and I agreed. I started going to meetings. I started going to council meetings. I started looking at meetings from the past. And I was at the meeting when the president was there, and they had an issue with funding. They didn't know how it was going to be funded to start. If you're going to build something like that and you're going to bring other businesses there, we have to work together and make sure that we're not going to be taxing the citizens more for building that and then giving businesses that move in to accompany them more tax breaks that are going to affect the citizens.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I value education and the opportunities a community college could bring, but I have some serious concerns about the tax impact. Under KSA 71201, community colleges are separate taxing entities with the authority to levy property taxes. Land purchase for KCKCC has already been removed from Lansing tax base. While the amount may be small, every reduction matters. Adding another taxing entity risks placing a heavier burden on residents who are already paying high property taxes. Before I could support this project, residents deserve clear answers about cost, transparency, and financing, and assurances that families and seniors will not be left with higher tax bills. If full transparency were provided, community support might increase. The benefits expand access to higher education, workforce training, and opportunities for students and businesses are important. But they must be weighed against the costs. If elected, I would prioritize transparency, seek broad citizen input, and meet with staff at the Pioneer Learning Center to review participation, costs, and enrollment trends, especially since Wyandotte has already seen declines in enrollment.
Thank you, Rebecca. Don?
Okay, on community college, I support the community college coming here. One big deal is because I support the schools. Where it would be located here in Lansing is right between our major high school and Leavenworth High School. So for some of the VOTEC courses that they would offer and all that for the students or the people at that time, plus the college level type courses, I think would be great. As far as leveling, they are not a taxing entity, as I understand. And also I've been challenged that Wyandotte County, who has a Kansas City Community College, that there's so many mills goes to them. That is true. That is fact. But those mills were voted on by the people of Wyandotte County to allow them to have those mills out of their property tax. The other benefit for them coming here would be they would use our facilities, whatever we have. We're always after business. I mean, they'll use our restaurants, our gas stations, whatever, and I think it'd be a plus for us. Thank you.
Yeah, please pass it down.
Okay, I get to keep
Caleb?
Yeah.
Please pass it down to Caleb.
Caleb, I'm sorry.
For me, currently, there are too many unknowns to answer that question. How much taxes are going to increase? Who will be the taxing authority? Will a couple of people from Lansing be added to the board, making it 7 out of 9 votes living in Wyandotte County that will decide the mill levy? Currently, Wyandotte County residents pay 16 on the dollar for taxes for that college. It's 17 cents in Bonner. And right now, Wyandotte County home valued at $374,000 pays $972 per year just to the community college. And it probably won't start there, but it's going to go there eventually. Furthermore, how much will be lost in taxes by not using land for commercial development? We're also pretty close in between the Kansas City, Kansas Community College and St. Mary's. Is there a student base to support another school? Would dual credit classes offered in high school that are state funded make more fiscal sense? These questions need to be answered honestly and to the public. Were any of these questions asked before the land was sold for non-commercial tax-exempt development?
Thank you. Rebecca, if you'd start the next round, please. Our third question, how will you address high property taxes?
High property taxes are one of the biggest challenges facing Lansing families and seniors on fixed incomes. The city should advocate at the county and state levels for fair property valuation system, while also managing local spending responsibly. Growth can help relieve tax pressure, but it must be carefully planned and guided by citizen input. Lansing's strengths is its small town feel. We should prioritize preserving neighborhoods, green spaces, and community ties rather than chasing every development deal, especially those that rely on tax abatements and shift the burden onto residents. I support revising the comprehensive plan to identify areas for commercial and industrial development, and will work with the economic development manager to pursue innovative strategies for business attraction. This approach not only creates jobs and economic activity, but also supports housing growth without relying on initiatives to strain the county or school district. Additionally, I support targeted relief programs for seniors most impacted by rising valuations. While a property tax cap would require action in Topeka, I believe Lansing should advocate for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass it to Donna, please.
Property tax question?
Yes.
That's what you want to talk about. Okay, property taxes. I challenge any city in the state to have done what we've done with our mill levies in the last 4 or 5 years. Let me throw some numbers at you. 21, our tax levy was 40. Our mills was 41.571. In 22, we went to 41.03. In 23 and 24, they were 36 and 32, but we met revenue neutral, which is I think is a burden. It's not really working on us because we had to dig deep in our reserves. 25, we kept our taxes flat at 41.9. And for next year, 26, our taxes will be 41.9 again. We're keeping our tax levy flat. Now, with the tax levy being flat meaning based on valuations, which we do not control, the state does, we will receive a few more dollars or more dollars than we did the previous year. But with us taking on the fire department and with us finally getting our new pool opened up, I think we're doing a great job. We're also looking at keeping those taxes that way by sharpening our pencil every budget season. We don't, with our department heads and that, we don't frivolously buy new equipment or whatever. We only get what we absolutely need. Thank you.
Sure. You pass it to Chris, please.
So property taxes, as I'm knocking doors, a lot of people are fed up with high property taxes and they want to know what can we do to stop them from continuing to rise. And then, I asked a couple of people and they're like, if you want to live in a great city, you have to have high property taxes. And my mouth gets me in trouble sometimes. And I said, that sounds like someone that's rich as heck. You're not thinking about the people that are paycheck to paycheck. You're not thinking about the people that are on fixed incomes. So it definitely needs to be addressed. Now, like I said, I've attended board meetings and they do talk about key issues, and once elected, I want to see what, where it's going, what we're doing with it. And I want to ask the hard questions because the citizens deserve to know. Now, I will also tell you that they're also, this doesn't concern us, but they are concerned that like we're spending half of our taxes are going to the school board. And they're like, where is it going? What is it doing? Because I don't have any kids in school. And I tell them it's not a city of Lansing issue. It's a school board issue. These are questions that the citizens need to be asking as well.
Caleb.
I'd agree with that the taxes it's a countywide problem. It's not just the city, it's not just the county, and it is a lot of the school. But ultimately, when we talk about high taxes, the only real resolution is to reduce spending. Everybody comes up with all these great ideas of how to increase revenue, but at the end of the day, if you want lower taxes, you got to lower spending. I've done it in private sector, I've done it in government, and there's always places that you can find to reduce spending. Government always has waste, and it always has overspending problems. It's every government from Washington, D.C. to your local government. So Part A, reduce spending.
Thank you. Chris, if you'd go first, this is our next question. Question number 4. City government provides services for based on the taxes collected. What are your solutions to control expenses or increase alternative revenue streams? If needed, what services would you discontinue to lower city taxes?
When I first read that, I was like, wow, what a loaded question. Chris Pierce isn't going to do anything. It's a board that I would sit on, that collectively we have to discuss and figure this out. Now, I will tell you one thing. I heard the other day at another speaking engagement that some entity was spending $20,000 on donuts. I will tell you, if that's anywhere in any budget, I'm voting that down. I I can't tell you how many exercises that I put on, meetings that I held, and out of my own pocket, I paid for pizzas, I paid for donuts, I paid for drinks. I made sure that people, because you don't waste taxpayers' money on I almost said a bad word, on dumb stuff. You just don't, and I haven't looked at it. I don't know where all of it's going, but I promise you I will.
Thank you. Caleb, would you go second, please?
Oh, okay. In my opinion, ultimately, the government's responsible for police, fire, EMS, and basic infrastructure. Anything beyond that's open for discussion. The first place I would look would be in administration. There's typically excessive spending in administration. You need to look at what salaries are, if they're too high, or if there's positions that just simply don't need to exist. There are a lot of places to look for overspending in government budgets without cutting city services. The hard part is when bad decisions have been made in the past that are difficult or impossible to reverse. And it seems like the policies are always more as fast as we can get it without really thinking through the consequences of what's going to be best in the long term.
Thank you. Look back if you do.
My first priority would be improving efficiency before considering service cuts. This could include technology upgrades, stronger coordination between departments, and actively pursuing grants and public-private partnerships. On the revenue side, we can grow our sales tax base by attracting businesses and events that could bring in more people to Lansing. Modest user fees for non-essential services may also provide alternative revenue without burdening residents. If reductions ever became necessary, I would protect essential services such as police, fire, and public works while carefully reviewing non-essential programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, city services. Like I said earlier about property taxes, at budget time, sharp pencil, and sit down and go through all the department heads and go line by line on what really needs to be done and whatever. Speaking about salaries, essential services we got to have. There's no doubt about that. Got to have that. But talking about salaries, sometimes salaries can get out of hand or not get out of hand. For years, the city of Lansing has been very on the low end of the side for salaries. Example would be our police and even our wastewater treatment people. We get a new wastewater treatment guy. We get him trained up to wastewater 1. We get him trained up to wastewater 2. And then all of a sudden, a year later or 6 months later, he's working in Johnson County doing the same job, but obviously for a higher salary, for the bigger tax base and whatever. Same thing has happened with our police department over the years. We seem to get new officers, good officers. We get them trained up and they start patrolling, and then all of a sudden we become a training ground for them. The only way to really cut city services would be maybe in our roads repair every year and all that. If we just have to have that money, we can defer certain roads to the next year. But the problem with deferring maintenance, it's just like I learned in the military, pay me now, pay me later. It just gets worse. Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you very much for answering our questions. I'll now open it up to the audience. Again, please get to the question as quickly as possible, and please ask a question that all candidates can address. Your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me and address how you would foster collaboration and communication between the city and the school?
Donald, would you please start?
Might as well start with that one. We do that all the time. The time I've been on the city council, we've had joint meetings with the school board and with the city council and talked about the issues. And always comes up as property taxes, in there and the mill levies that are levied and whatever. We try to work closely with the school board for certain things. I think we're working with them now. Right now, they have a building that needs to really be tore down, so the tax, money goes away off of that. They don't have to pay that taxes, and so we're trying to work them, help them any way we can. Of course, we don't control their budget. We don't control, the school district.
Rebecca, please.
I mean, currently right now, I go and attend most of the school board meetings that I can. But I think you need to build a relationship with the other taxing entities, go to their meetings, set up meetings, talk. I think that's the most effective thing.
Chris, please.
So as I stated before, I've attended many meetings. We're all in this together. The county commission, the school board, the city council. You have to attend meetings. If you can't attend them, you watch them online, you figure out what's going on, and you have to make sure that you all are working together as a community to remember who you're working for. You're working for the people. You're working for the school. You're working for the kids. Don't forget that. Don't lose sight of who you're working for. And just to clarify, I would never cut fire, police, man. I train first responders, so.
No, don't cut those.
No.
It's nice to have an open conversation with people on the school board and the city council and board of county commissioners. I like to keep an open conversation with as many of them as I can, whether that's in groups or, privately. We do have some difficult characters on each of those, and sometimes what we want isn't always possible because not everyone seems to be on the same page. But the best we can do is just keep trying, keep having those conversations, and see if we can get people on the same page.
Next question. Yes, sir.
If you're run into office, what would be the first thing that you would do to increase economic development? Because obviously, you cut to efficiency, but we can't keep up with the burden maintenance at the schools and rising costs. We keep hemorrhaging employees to other places because we can't afford to pay them enough. So I'm a firm believer that bringing commercial and taxing commercial is the wave of the future. How do you, as a council member, overcome the recent social media backlash against development that's scared a lot of people away from our county, and become a we'll call it combat multiplier to the county as a member of it to help bring business back?
Caleb, would you start, please?
I'm just going to use Johnson County as an example. If we look at Johnson County, it is one end to the other, houses and businesses, not just houses, but upper class and ultra upper class houses. So by that theory, we should look at Johnson County and be just amazed at how low their taxes are. And they're actually completely out of control and they're absurd. So I don't believe that if we filled this county from one end to the other with houses and businesses that we would see our taxes go down. It's just not something that we ever see. So I don't know that that is the simple solution.
As I've been knocking doors and communicating with people, they're like, hey, man, we like our county the way it is. And I understand we want a happy medium. There are things that we have to address. First thing is housing. Rooftops. Businesses aren't going to go, oh, yeah, I'll take a chance and move to Lansing. They're not going to do that. You have to have homes. But you have to have, if you have growth, you have to have qualified, well-trained first responders to make sure that we are equaling that growth. So we need a win-win. And we have to be talking to all the partners involved to make sure that we're doing that collectively. I am not against RHID. I'm just against taking 80% for up to 20 years. I am not against development. And some of my friends feel differently, and that's okay. If we agreed on everything all the time, it would be a boring world, But we do have to think about the growth of our community and getting businesses in here so we can lower property taxes. And another thing, we need to coordinate with Wyandotte County and our county, because how often have you gone from I-70 to here and you're like, get up speed and a red light catches you. You get up speed, a red light catches you. For truckers, that's time. Time is money.
Rebecca.
Just to summarize, you're asking how we would market development into our city, right?
Yeah, I would. based on a lot of the recent things and the fact that we don't have a ton of businesses even looking here, or we got a lot of businesses closing the county, what would you do to help change that?
So I think we need to open our eyes and realize that this, like who's in charge of marketing our city, it's the whole community's job. The best form of marketing is through word of mouth. And so I think the first thing, if I was to approach the development issue, was one, get the community involved, ask them what they want to see, what businesses. And I think by word of mouth, we could encourage more development in our area, and maybe development that the residents actually want to see.
Thank you. Don.
Bringing businesses to Lansing has been my everyday priority since I've been on the council, in the years that I've been on the council. I don't think there's a week goes by that I don't talk to our director of economic development, say, hey, have you called this business? Hey, have you called this, enterprise? Have you called these guys to try to get them to come and look at our city and come and build? Economic development, bringing businesses is the only way you're really going to try to help get your property taxes lowered, keep the mills levy on your lower tractor, because sales tax or whatever would do. So like I said earlier, with the community college coming in, using what restaurants we have, using our quick shops, et cetera, and the other businesses we have in town, that sales tax obviously will stay with us. That will help our budget all the way around.
Next question. Yes, sir.
Dovetail on to the question on economic development. What's your position on entities that are dedicated to helping us find businesses and find organizations? There's a lot of talk about LCDC and the Port Authority and creating something up at the county level. But what's your thoughts in terms of place and responsibility, and how does that fit compared to doing it in-house, Lane City on the road?
I think LCDC is and the Port Authority, et cetera. Those entities are a big help to us in economic development. Over the years, we've supported them in their operations. However, we've challenged them over the years. Many times when they come seeking funding every budget year and whatever, we say, what have you brought to Lansing in the last year? What have you brought to Lansing in the last 5 years? Et cetera. So there's always that challenge going on with them, that dialogue. We're doing that dialogue almost on a continuing basis.
Rebecca.
Kind of backtrack to my answer of the last round, but I don't necessarily think it's just their job to bring development to our community. It's our community as a whole through word of mouth, through having conversations with people. So if we want to see development, I don't think we can just necessarily rely on LCDC and Port Authority. I think it needs to be through word of mouth, our community as a whole. So same answer.
Thank you. Chris.
You're talking to a retired Navy guy. When I heard Port Authority, I went, what? So LCDC and Port Authority, I will not vote for you to continue to take taxpayer money and not have anything to show for it.
I've had a similar experience. I'm not super familiar with either one of them. I've met some people on a couple of them. It's something I could look more into, but based on what I've heard and read, I don't see that there's been a ton of benefit. I don't know that that's the best route.
Next question, please. No further questions?
I'll toss another one.
Please.
So you're elected on to the city council. What is your leadership philosophy? How do you intend to operate as representatives through this effective awards? Most importantly, as a member of the council, which you've been, for the most part, currently not partisan.
Rebecca, would you start, please?
I've learned a lot through this journey about bad leadership, I would say. I know it might be funny, but the taxing, our taxpayers, they want transparency. They want people, and I think transparency can go a long way with the community. You know, just like attending the school board meetings, knowing that their roofs need repair. Like me as a person, hopefully about to have children in the future, I'm like, wow, that's a dire need for the community, you know, like, but transparency is what matters when it comes to approaching people and telling them what's, you know, hey, we're going to ask for money soon. But when you asked about bipartisan, I don't think potholes and public services really care if you're a Republican or Democrat. But I do think it's important to be transparent with your community.
Chris, please.
I also agree that transparency wins people. And as far as the nonpartisan, partisan, you know, knocking doors, that's one of the reasons I'm running, is because this is a nonpartisan race. If it wasn't, I couldn't, you know, and I have talked to all different types of people, and I have signs in yards. Every sign that you see is a conversation that happened between all different types of people. And, you know, when I finish that conversation and they go, hey, may I have a sign? That means something. You know, that means that I've reached someone, and that means that we agree, even though we might not believe some of the same things. Once again, if we did, it'd be a boring place. Now, when it comes to my values, yes, I am conservative. I am Christian. And don't ever ask me to go against my Christian values. It's a hard no.
Certainly to the partisan point, our country is certainly divided right down the middle. There's a very big divide, but when it comes to the city council, I just don't see that many issues that would fall into that category as being partisan. We just don't deal with those issues. As far as the public, from me speaking to the public, you know, openly for the last couple of years, I think I have a pretty good idea what a majority of the people are wanting. Obviously don't know what everybody wants, and everyone's not always going to agree. But I think it starts with getting in there and looking at the numbers, analyzing stuff, and then talking to the public and seeing what their opinion is.
Donald, please.
Yeah, I'll hang my hat on the word nonpartisan. There's a reason for that. If you check all the laws and everything that goes on, I can honestly say that the current board and the boards that I've served on in the past here in Lansing, we leave our major politics at the door. When we come in for a meeting or we come in for a work session, we sit down and we talk the hard issues of what's best for Lansing and all their citizens. And I'm a citizen of Lansing too, and my property taxes are affected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So communication, I think, is the key. Communication. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Kevin Gardner, welcome.
Catch up with them.
All right.
Hi, Kevin Gardner. I'm one of two people interested in serving in Ward 1. And we moved here in the early 80s. We moved here because of the school system. And I've been involved with Parks and Recreation in one way or another for over 25 years. And I served on the council in mid-teens and then for the last 3 years. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Any other questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
I keep hearing, Chris, and something talk about door knocking. I'm just curious, like, this door knocking, this engaging with the public seemed to happen during elections, mostly before the election. What would you do if you were on the city council to stay engaged with your constituent?
Kevin, would you start, please?
Gene Kirby is our senior council member in Ward 1. He has the energy and dedication, along with my predecessor, that I am still getting adjusted to as far as getting involved with the community. He is the one I would go to, or I always go to first if I have a question about anything that's going on with the ward. Any issues that people email me with, I go to him first, and then we go to whatever department that it pertains to. So Gene Kirby is probably the most important person that I have as far as being in touch with the public.
Caleb.
Ward 1's pretty small. compared to countywide, it's not a very big area. It's not hard to get around the community and talk to people. Social media has its pros and cons. I don't think it's the ideal format, but there are some things that you can glean from that. I think a lot of it's just getting out in the community and talking to people. And like I say, Ward 1's not very big.
Chris.
Yeah. I knocked on doors and they're like, I never have seen my councilman. I get the newsletter, but I don't talk to him that much. And I'm like, that's a problem, and Don and I were talking tonight when we first arrived, and we're like, man, we hope more people show up, because we had the lowest voter turnout for the primaries in Kansas history. That needs to change. Voters are just losing interest because they just don't believe. So how can we change that? Newsletters are great, find out what type of person they are, because some people like text, some people like emails, some people, like a visit. You have to figure out which type of learner you are dealing with and connect with them.
Okay, for Ward 2 is pretty rural. I'm going to be honest, after door knocking, some people have very long driveways. So I don't think it's really possible to door knock every situation that's brought up in city council. I'm going to be honest, but I have seen a lot of positive feedback with social media and posting about the city council and what's going on. So that's what I would push for. Maybe some newsletters. I know Lansing does send out newsletters about what's going on. I get them in my mailbox. I'm sure everybody else does. But I do think there is a huge push for updating social media and keeping the public informed.
Well, I kind of ditto on some of that stuff. The city does put out a quarterly newsletter. And in that quarterly newsletter, I usually write an article about the hot topic that's going on or what we're discussing at the city council. And at the bottom of that newsletter, I invite everybody to come to their city council meetings. And I also have my email address there, my phone number. You can call me at any time. The city also puts out once a week. They put out what they call a Lansing blast or a news blast. Comes out every Friday. Get your email into the city, and you'll get that in your inbox. And that tells you what's all the current stuff going on for the week, or if there's a holiday the next week, it'll tell you, the garbage pickup will be delayed a day or whatever. But that gets information out to the people. But the citizens can call the city at any time, talk to any of the department heads, talk to any of the staff about any issue, and they can always call me or email me, and we can sit down and talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
What is the single most important issue to you that would make Lansing a better place to live? Is it parks, roads, business, bridges?
Donald, did you start?
All of the above. All of the above, I would say. Oh, wasn't a multiple choice question? Oh, okay. Probably economic development, to keep the city viable, to keep the city in money, and to keep the city doing what it's supposed to be doing. Keep it cleaned up, have good roads, have good sewage system, good housing, whatever. People will come who want to live here. But economic development is the driver on a lot of that, like we've discussed already earlier this evening. So probably economic development would be the biggest boon for me.
To me, the most important place in our community is the library. I think it's a really important for the kids. It's what I enjoyed going to growing up. I actually went to the Leavenworth Library, but I think it's good overall for our community to have a library for the children and for us too.
You've got a lot of people that live in Lansing that are retired military, and now they have a second job out of the fort. They can afford, I'm saying all, but most can afford the taxes that we pay. Then there's some that can't. The question that was asked, how do we bring businesses in so we can offset the high property taxes? That's something we're going to have to discuss. That's something we're going to have to figure out. We need more rooftops. We can't do it without more rooftops and more people, because businesses, like I said, aren't going to say, I'll gamble and just come to Lansing and take a chance. That's not how businesses work. So we need to do better at figuring out, how we get a win-win.
My family, having 6 kids, the facility that we use the most is also the library. It gets used constantly. In our family, the number one discussion that is nonstop, constant, is taxes. They're too high. Our mortgage keeps going up. It goes up. It goes up. It goes up. And us, like many other people in the community, there's going to be a limit to it. At some point, it can't keep going up. At the county level, being in the treasurer's office, I see people that spent 30 years paying their home off, and now their taxes are higher than their mortgage ever was. And some of them are actually being forced out of their homes. We have older people call that are behind on their taxes. They can't pay their taxes. The number one issue that I see on a daily basis is the just burdensome taxes.
There are a couple things, and one is the balance between commercial, industrial growth, and homes, trying to balance all three so that commercial businesses and industries, when they come in, there are people there that they can staff their business with. The one thing that, if I had to put one item out there, would be increasing our level of education. We have a school system that already offers a variety of avenues for any child, whether it be academic, athletic, or arts. We have the music, choir, band. We have the STEM program. We have and the athletics and all that. But we have a lot of areas for children. We have a library who continually, library director, staff, and support. She won't let me bring up one without everybody. So that continually outperforms herself every year. And once we get KCK in here, that's just going to increase our opportunities to raise the level of education of the citizens, both the youth and the adults. So education would probably be the most important thing.
Thank you. Next question. Any other questions? If not, candidates, please give us your 1-minute closing statement. Kevin, since you've got the microphone, please.
I apologize for being late. I did have a field trip with some youth. And yes, increasing voter turnout is important. The more people that vote, the more people we know care. The people that don't vote could range from where they don't care or they already trust the judgment of the city officials. And as far as the media goes, we have a wide range of opportunities for people to get involved or to find out what they want to know. So if they are interested, there is a way to do. And that man right over there is responsible for most of it, giving the people the opportunity to find out what they need to know.
I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here this evening. It has been my absolute pleasure for the last 2 years to serve the county at the courthouse, and something that I'll always treasure. I'm running for city council because of the taxes. It's something that I hear on a daily basis at work. I just happen to be the one that collects the taxes for the entire county, and I hear it every single day. And if this is the next step in the community where I can do anything about that, where I can make any positive difference whatsoever in trying to reduce that tax burden, then that's what I'd like to do. I think this is a good time for some changes. We've had a lot of the same people in for a long time, and maybe some new ideas and some new voices would be helpful. If anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me and just track me down. Thanks.
So what I left out in the beginning is how this journey started is when I put my name in, we were about to go on vacation. I told my wife I can't do that without having a conversation with Dan Clemens. And I knocked on his door. And I said, I'm the guy that put my name in to run against you. And I said, I have nothing bad to say about you. I don't do that. I can't stand when politicians go back and forth at each other. It absolutely disgusts me. I said, I want to be the next voice for our ward. And he said, you know what? I can't believe that you knocked on my door. And I said, these conversations need to happen. And hard conversations have to happen sometimes, and that's what we need in the city council, somebody that's not afraid to have hard conversations. And I want to be that voice for Ward 4. Thank you.
Above all, I stand for transparency. Citizens deserve clear answers and a true voice in local government. I will keep residents informed, listen to their concerns, and make sure decisions are made with the people. Thank you, guys.
Well, I'll reiterate, communication is key across the board. I would just encourage everybody out there that's of voting age to register to vote and get out and vote. Encourage your neighbors and those that can vote, get out and vote. Have them check out the candidates, us candidates, and what they stand for and what they've done, like in my case, and get out and vote. And remember, it's a nonpartisan. Leave your major problems at home. What we've worked for on the city council here and what I've worked for over the years, and I'm seeking re-election, is for the good of all of the residents of Lansing. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me thank our candidates for being here? And thank you, candidates, for participating this evening. We appreciate your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We'll be back here 2 weeks from tonight for the USD 469 candidate forum. So please join us.